Hello everyone and welcome back to FantasyFootballFix.com, the leading platform to help you improve your overall rank by increasing your essential team value and giving you the best chance of winning those all-important mini-leagues. My name is FPL Phillips and delighted to be back on the channel bringing you some new and fresh content in this little break we've got between the first set of games and the second set of games in Game Week 21. So we've got some time to sit back, plan a little bit, see if we can make some plans that we can put together, which will probably inevitably be ripped up by the time Game Week 22 eventually does roll around. But in that meantime, it does not hurt to plan at all, and we've got some videos planned in store for you this week for you guys who are interested in some FPL content over this break. If you are new around here, do remember to subscribe to the channel and leave a like as well if you do enjoy the video. It really does help out all out over here at Fix. So without further ado, let's get into it and see if we can not only price change your way, but use the Fix website to get you or stay in the top 10k. So with around 7 days it is between the next Game Week 21 games and now, I thought it would be a great time to have a look and a step back at really what the fixtures are looking like over this period. And if anything Game Week 21 has taught us so far, it's that double game weeks aren't necessarily everything. And a lot of players are rushing to get in these double game week players because we know historically they do go very well. West Ham and Everton and Brentford, if you include them so far, haven't performed. They do have potentially a chance to do that in the next set of games with the players who are common assets. Our Antonios and our Bowens have managed to score a bit, but Calvert-Lewin's, Grays, they've been disappointments. We all know that they could deliver in the second game, but realistically so far, people rush to bring in Everton and West Ham defenders that perhaps maybe weren't worth the punt despite what should probably be a guaranteed clean sheet against Norwich. So yeah, it's interesting to see to me that West Ham, even with the confirmed fixtures, do seem to have a very strong set, which is of course reasoning for a lot of people bringing in those West Ham assets not just on a free hit in Game Week 21. So, people who are holding them, you don't have to worry and panic and rage sell yet, and I would advise not making any transfers until much nearer the Game Week 22 deadline, and most importantly, it is very vital that we do not rush and make knee-jerks for Game Week 22 when we don't even know what games are going ahead yet. There has also recently been some news that fixtures that could only not be played on days due to them being reserved for Champions League spots are now going to be available, so that will benefit teams like Arsenal and Spurs in terms of their double game week potential from what I've gathered from news that's come out today. So in terms of that, and Spurs and Arsenal at all don't seem to be very near the top of the fixtures and the actual fixture difficulty chart that we can see here on the Fantasy Football Fix website. West Ham top it, Newcastle in second, but then we have some teams who could potentially have another double game week. So Manchester United are in there despite being on poor form. Watford, again, if you're looking to go and target an Emmanuel Dennis, who now looks like he won't be going to AFCON, you could go for him now if you still don't own him. If you don't have a Josh King, you could go for him as well. But I think if you don't own a Watford attacker, probably getting in Emmanuel Dennis at this point might be the way to go, unless you're happy with your front three as it is. Manchester City, despite having no potential for a double game week, still quite high up on this chart with fixtures, so we don't need to be too concerned about having their players. A lot of people were considering dropping Cancelo on a wild card, of course, did blank in Game Week 21, but still, holding that much value in him and then selling him seems to be probably a mistake that you may begin to rue as it becomes more apparent that you may not have been the best move to sell him. Southampton, Brentford and Norwich in Game Week 23 to 25 is a very nice spell of fixtures for Man City. Liverpool is a very interesting one, and there has also been some news today that there has been another COVID outbreak in the Liverpool camp. We're yet to know the severity of this outbreak, but Liverpool were a team that a lot of people were considering tripling up on if they don't even have a triple up yet. So the majority of the game owns at least one Liverpool player, with Trent. Most own two, probably with Jota by now, or Salah if they still own him. And a lot of people were considering holding and then adding a third, so maybe someone like Minamino or someone who's going to play in these weeks when Salah and Mane are away at AFCON, or perhaps taking a punt on someone like an Oxlade-Chamberlain either if he's looking certain to play. So it is the Leeds game that could be moved back to Game Week 22, and Liverpool will face Leeds and Brentford if they go ahead and have a double game week in the next game week of the season. After that, they face Crystal Palace, Leicester again, Burnley, Norwich. This fixture run's incredible. They do have a blank then at the end of that, which is just behind my head. But yeah, you can see that Norwich is that final game in 26 before 27 is where the blank is. Norwich below them. Again, we're not going near them at the moment, but it's interesting to see some teams towards the bottom are teams that we're considering to have pretty strong fixtures or have a lot of players from at the moment. So a lot of people ended up on a triple Arsenal or still have a double Chelsea defence, myself included. Spurs as well are a team that a lot of people looking to load up on with a very good chance of a double game week 22 and a lot of fixtures still left to play. So of course, fixture difficulty is not everything by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very useful tool over a fantasy football fix to help you compare and analyse the fixture difficulty of the games we do know for sure are going to go ahead, because there's not too much point doing speculation around which games are going to be moved where at the moment, despite the fact that there are some very helpful resources out there that can give you a decent chance of being able to predict double game weeks. Of course, with Arsenal and Chelsea, it's worthwhile in noting that they do have blank game weeks coming up. Chelsea and Arsenal both have 2 across the next 6 game weeks. You can't just see the last one that Arsenal have, you can see the first one there. But yeah, they have some teams in between them that aren't too bad. So Arsenal face the likes of Burnley and Brentford, whilst Chelsea face Leicester and Crystal Palace. But realistically, Chelsea have a very tough run over the next 4 game weeks with Man City, Tottenham, and then 2 blanks right now. So unless you're on a streak of madness, maybe jumping off your Chelsea players might be a decent move if there are other assets that you do like in the long run. Of course, there's players like Marcus Alonso who managed to pick up an assist against Liverpool. That still does look quite attacking, but what we want to be really doing is moving our players at the moment onto players who do look likely to have a double game week and hopefully have a bit of an easier fixture spell than those of the Chelsea defence, who haven't actually looked at their best so far this season. So that's going to wrap it up for here. Let's have a bit of another look at some of the other news that's been coming in and a bit more comparison we can do using the Fix website. And lastly tonight, I did want to cover a bit of a comparison between the Wolves defenders. And now if there were any defences I was going to be targeting to go for the next couple of game weeks, then Wolves and Spurs would be the highest 2 on my list. But dependent on the double game week fixtures, it looks like Spurs are the more likely to get a double game week. And so maybe edging towards someone like a Ben Davies or a Reguilon, if you don't own them already, could be a wise choice to bring in. However, as I mentioned, there are a few defenders, such as teams from Chelsea and Arsenal, that their fixtures look pretty terrible, and so we want to be looking to shift them out and see if we can get in defenders from other teams. Now, of course, the premium fullbacks, such as James and Chilwell, are no longer available, and so outside of Cancelo and Trent, we don't really have anyone who is a standout option to go for at the back. And so I thought it would be easy to compare whether the Wolves defenders, which one of them should you go for. It would be very interesting to see if you're looking to bring in a Wolves centre-back or right-back, who are you going to pick? I've compared Semedo, Cody, Saiss and Kilman, as you can see here, and this is all done using the Fix comparison matrix over at fantasyfootballfix.com, where you can select your game week range. You can also select whether you want to show the totals or the average points per game, and you can see this for all your selected stats that you want to select for yourself. So yeah, I've chosen a few selected ones here, and as you can see that Semedo actually tops a lot of them. Touches in the box, he comes out on top, which you kind of would expect for him playing in the most advanced position at that right wing back spot of the back 5. 2.1 averages touch in the box per game, with Saiss coming in second at 1.1, and then the others behind with 0.6 and 0.7 respectively for Cody and Kilman, that is. In terms of crosses, Semedo, as you would expect, also comes out on top with 1.4 average crosses per game. The others are all centre-backs. We're not going to expect their statistics in that regard to be very high at all. What we're holding them for, moreover, is the clean sheet potential, and also the fact from the threat from set pieces that some of these guys hold. We even saw at Manchester United and other places that Romain Saiss, when there's a free kick that looks suited for a left footer, does sometimes take them, so he does have that potential as well if looking to put in a shot from a free kick position. And it did look quite dangerous, the one he took whilst I was at Old Trafford, in fact. So yeah, it was a nice free kick, and he does have that in his locker if he needs to whip it out. In terms of attempted assists, 0.5 per game leaves Semedo the gold medal again in that category, with Cody down at 0.00 and Saiss and Kilman at 0.2. Successful final third passes was another thing I wanted to put in here, and so 10.4 makes Semedo again in first, with Saiss behind in second with 7.4. And then FPL bonus points is another thing that we always like to consider, and it's maybe the most important category out of all these. It is Saiss who comes first there, despite all these stats that Semedo's putting in. It's Saiss who comes out first. Perhaps Semedo wasting potential going forward has been the cause of that, with 19.2 average bonus points per game. Not too bad at all for Romain Saiss. And then Semedo's actually last in terms of FPL bonus points per game, with Kilman coming in third and Cody coming in second. So that is very interesting, I thought, if you're looking to go for Romain Saiss. And then I had a look at value as well, so FPL points per million. We can see that Seiss and Cody really providing the best value so far this season in terms of total points score. Semedo has scored the least amount of points out of all these defenders, interestingly enough. And then shots, Seiss only just behind Semedo with 0.7 to 0.8 respectively for the Wolves defenders. But if we look at shots on target, it's actually going to be Seiss, who in the Moroccan, more clinical with 0.3 shots on target average per game. So yeah, that's a very interesting comparison, I think. And if I was going to go for a Wolves defender, who would I pick out of these four men at the top? I think I'd have to say I would go for either Romain Seiss or Connor Cody. And it's hard to pick. I think Cody is just so nailed that, you know, you always know what you're getting with him. You're getting the slight chance of a header from a set piece, and you're getting those clean sheets when Wolves do get them, which with some very nice fixtures over the next couple of games, you could be banking on a lot of them coming in. Romain Seiss, I think if you want to splash the cash a little more, or you're not scarce for money at all, you've got 3 or 4 million in the bank, etc., like some managers do, spending that extra 0.5 million could be the difference with quite a few points that he could get from set pieces, and of course taking the set pieces himself with those stats you can see as well, hinting that he's getting a lot more of the touches when the ball does enter the penalty area and getting some more attempted assists in for him. So that's my analysis on the Wolves defenders. I think if it was going to go for one, I would go for Seiss, and then if I was going to go for a Spurs defender, it would be Reguilon. I think my ideal backline would be something like a Trent Cancelo, maybe then a Seiss and Reguilon at the moment. But if you're scarce with cash, then Cody and Ben Davies of Spurs, if you're going that route, could be great options as well. Maybe you can bring in the mighty Phil Jones at 4.5 million if Maguire's out long term. Bit of a joke that. Maybe make sure that he's in for a while before doing that. But yeah, that's going to be my analysis on the Wolves defenders. There are some price changes to note this evening. Make sure you do be aware of those. Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Trent, and of course Kieran Tierney all going up in price if you check the app. So those 4 are the ones to note of. No really noticeable fallers in price. Ben Foster is the only one who any of you, I think, will own. But yeah, you can check those as usual using the free Fantasy Football Fix app or heading over to fantasyfootballfix.com/price and checking it for yourself all the way up until the deadline, which are going to be, there's some potential to gain some good value between the space of now and game week 22. So that's going to be all from me. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's video, and thank you for welcoming me back very kindly to the channel. I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.